gold made a lot of sense to me. But once I discovered silver, I did the supply-demand fundamentals are just so astounding.
Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics at the Vancouver Resources Investment Conference. Excited to catch up with someone that I've really admired and respected. Jesus, almost a decade now. Keith Neumeyer, CEO of First Majestic Silver. Obviously, is it the purest primary silver miner? I think you guys are number one in that.
We still are. Yes, that is correct. Unfortunately, well, maybe not unfortunately, but, when I put the company together 18 years ago now, there was legitimately a handful of companies out there that had revenue of north of 50% from silver. Today, there's only one or two that are actually over 50%.
And First Majestic is one of them. I know we have a lot of silver fans in our audience. And Keith, appreciate you making some time, perhaps. I know a lot of folks are familiar with First Majestic. Some might not be. So maybe you could talk a little overview of the company and some of the projects you guys have.
Sure. Well, we're all Mexico. All our mines are in Mexico. We're in 2020. We'll be operating 3 mines. We're actually shut down a couple of mines in 2019, unfortunately, just because they were so small and they weren't it didn't make a lot of sense for us to remain active at those operations with the focus that we're currently having at the larger mines. So we'll be producing about 24 million ounces of silver equivalent next year. About 60% of that is silver, and the rest is gold. So all the base metal mines, which we had in production over the last few years, are now in the process of being wound down.
And Keith, I know there's a lot of folks who have been waiting a while in silver, although one of the dynamics that I think plays into that with the, only a couple months ago that we had $14.50 silver, the effect has been that the supply is going down, certain projects don't get funded. Perhaps you could comment on that.
Well, interestingly enough, the miners are actually producing less silver today than they did, 2 or 3 years ago. We've been in this constant silver production decline now for 4 or 5 years, which is pretty shocking for the industry, and it's not really showing up in the price to really any great degree. You're right, silver has gone up over the last 12 months, which is nice to see. For us, that's about an extra, $100 million in revenue at our size, so it's been a big impact for us, but still not at the price I think it should be trading at. We're trading currently silver to gold at about 85 to 1, and we're mining only 8 to 1. So, the ratio's got to collapse, in my view, which puts, triple-digit silver, in play. I know it sounds ridiculous when you're at $18 silver, but I think that's where silver prices should be.
Yeah, and you mentioned the ratio, and it's interesting. A lot of the bullion dealers I talk with, Rick Rule has mentioned in his physical trust that you also have people buying on a 1-to-1 ratio or a 5-to-1 ratio, which I would think for all the folks who are wondering when that ratio is going to converge, that is a real factor that could drive us there.
Yeah, when I did my original thesis on silver back in 2002. When I left First Quantum, I tried to figure out where I wanted to go next, and leaving copper, gold made a lot of sense to me. But once I discovered silver, the supply-demand fundamentals are just so astounding. And this is, a long time, and this is 18 years ago. And today, now we've got new technologies, forget about computers and cell phones and all the electronics that we need as a human race. But we've got now solar panels, electric cars, electric airplanes now, and all kinds of things that are happening with the energy grid around the planet that all is going to be consuming a ton of silver, and it's really not showing up in price. I think it's just a matter of time.
Which is an interesting contrast to gold, where I'm a fan of both gold and silver. I think if we had a gold or silver-backed money would be great, yet gold in many ways counting on the monetary demand, whereas silver, a lot of it's just not there anymore.
It's not, and you see some of the miners. I don't want to name names right now, but go back and look at some of the majors on the announcements they've made for their production in 2019 and their guidance for 2020. All these big silver companies are producing less silver today than they did, a couple years ago.
And Keith, one thing I know, it's not been the easiest environment, although that's forced a lot of companies. Something I really respect, admire that you've done, and you've been talking about finding ways to be more efficient with not having as much slippage and really bringing costs down, and some of the technology you've done.
Yeah, I adopted this view back in 2012 when the metal prices really started to take a dip, and I started getting concerned because I realized then that this was the end of the cycle, and these cycles comes when they end like that, you never know when they're going to turn around. And we weren't particularly a high cost producer, but when you're trading, when silver's at $40 or $50 and your costs are $20 an ounce, you're making a lot of money and you don't really care. But all of a sudden silver's $20 an ounce and you start losing money, which a lot of the miners did, including First Majestic. I'm glad I made that decision early because we hit the ground hard with a team I put together, specialized in technology, and I told them to just turn over every rock possible to try to find $1 to save. And we spent now over 6 years developing technology, some in-house and some, of course, off the shelf. But our recoveries back in 2014, which is in our presentation. People should go to our website and have a look for this at this for themselves. But we had a 65% global recovery in all mines, which 65%, it's in the silver sector, it's not great, but it's kind of an acceptable number. So we had over 30% of the metal going into waste back in those days. Today, with the adoption of technology, where we just actually in Q3, which was our last public numbers that came out, we hit 88% recovery. So and for every 1% at our size is an extra 150,000 ounces of free silver, basically, that drops to the bottom line.
Yeah, it's interesting sometimes how the challenging times in life forces us to really clean up habits and then be stronger going forward, which you've done. I also really admire, I know you had the investment background similar to me, walking away from that and doing something that you believe in, you've appreciated what you stand for, and perhaps just in closing can let folks know they can find more information, all the details and that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I think that what kind of differentiates, First Majestic a little bit, because I'm not a geologist or an engineer. I did come from the the finance side of the industry, so I tend to look at decisions a little bit differently. And technology, I think, is a great way for miners to really improve what they're doing. And I think the mining sector as a whole needs to really start adopting technologies for a variety of different reasons. Environmental footprint, just safety reasons, CSR reasons, and just to be smarter, and also at the same time to reduce costs and increase profitability. And we're one of the leaders in doing that. We're with some very good companies that are also leaders out there. But we differentiate ourselves by adopting technology. We'll continually do that. I think it's a real driver to our future. But anyways, so to contact me, I've got a Twitter account. Just Keith_Neumeyer. Feel free to see me on Twitter. I don't tweet a lot, but the pertinent stuff that I care about, I do tweet out. But of course, go to our website. Our PowerPoint's there, just firstmajestic.com, and of course my other company, First Mining Gold. Go to their website as well if you're interested. Ariel.
That's right, and we were tweeting out a great video of a question with you and Jeff Clark, one of my favorite analysts, who's also a big First Majestic fan. Keith, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. You've been really kind and supportive to me in my own journey, and really appreciate what you're doing, and look forward to seeing your success.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Good seeing you again.
So that is today's episode. I do thank you for spending some time with me and hope you enjoyed it. If so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.